Rain poured heavily over the neon streets of Seoul. A powerful mafia boss, feared by politicians, gangs, and businessmen, lay bleeding in a dark alley. The last thing he expected was for a frail old street woman to save his life. He didn't know that the woman who dragged him out of death was the mother he had been searching for his entire life. In the dark underground world of Seoul, one name was spoken with fear and respect. Kang Min-jae. Businessmen lowered their voices when talking about him. Gang leaders avoided crossing his territory. Even corrupt politicians secretly worked with him. At only 32 years old, Min-jae had built one of the most powerful criminal organizations in South Korea. His empire stretched across illegal casinos, secret gambling houses, smuggling routes through the port city of Busan, and black market dealings hidden behind legitimate companies. But power had come with a price. Min-jae trusted almost no one. His childhood had been destroyed by violence. When he was just 6 years old, his home was attacked during a brutal gang war between his father's group and a rival organization. Gunshots filled the night. His father pushed him into a closet and told him not to come out no matter what happened. But the memory that haunted Min-jae the most wasn't the gunfire. It was the moment he heard his mother screaming his name. After that night, she disappeared. Everyone told him she was dead. That was the day the innocent boy named Min-jae disappeared, and the cold man he became was born. Far away from luxury penthouses and secret mafia meetings, another life existed on the busy sidewalks of Myeongdong Street. Among the endless flow of tourists and shoppers sat an old woman beside a small wooden cart. Her name was Han Soo-young. Every morning before sunrise, she prepared simple rice cakes and warm tea to sell. Her clothes were worn. Her hands were rough from years of hard work. Most people passed by without noticing her. But those who looked closely would see something unusual in her eyes. She always watched the crowd carefully. As if she were searching for someone. Someone she had lost a very long time ago. One stormy evening, Min-jae finished a secret meeting inside a luxury hotel in downtown Seoul. The meeting was supposed to strengthen alliances with other underground leaders. Before we continue to this story, kindly hit the subscribe button and drop a comment below. But something felt wrong. When Min-jae stepped outside, the streets were unusually quiet. Then suddenly, gunshots exploded from the darkness. Black cars blocked the street behind him. Men with guns surrounded him. Min-jae quickly realized the terrifying truth. Someone from his own organization had betrayed him. The attackers opened fire. Min-jae fought back with deadly precision, but there were too many enemies. A bullet pierced his side. Another grazed his shoulder. Bleeding heavily, he escaped into a narrow alley between buildings. His vision began fading. Then everything went dark. Not far from the alley, Soo-young was closing her small food cart for the night. She heard the gunshots echo through the street. People nearby ran away in panic. But Soo-young moved toward the sound instead. When she turned the corner, she saw a man lying on the ground covered in blood. For a moment she hesitated. Helping him could be dangerous. But when she looked at his face, something inside her heart stirred. There was something strangely familiar about him. Without thinking further, she dragged his body into the small storage room behind her cart. It took all her strength. But she refused to leave him there to die. Inside the small room, Soo-young carefully cleaned the man's wounds. She had learned basic medical treatment years ago while surviving difficult times. The bullet had passed through his side but hadn't hit any vital organs. Still, the blood loss was severe. All night long she worked to stop the bleeding. She whispered softly while changing his bandages. "Stay alive, please stay alive." She didn't understand why she felt such strong concern for a complete stranger. But something deep in her heart refused to give up on him. The next morning, Min-jae slowly opened his eyes. The room was small and dimly lit. It smelled of herbs and warm rice. He quickly sat up, instinctively reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. The old woman entered carrying a bowl of soup. "You shouldn't move yet," she said gently. "You lost a lot of blood." Min-jae studied her carefully. She didn't seem afraid of him. She didn't even ask his name. For the first time in many years, someone helped him without expecting anything in return. After recovering from his injuries, Kang Min-jae returned to his luxurious penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline of Seoul. The floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a city that obeyed his influence. Every building, every street corner, every shadow felt like part of his empire. Yet something strange kept pulling his thoughts away from power and control. It was the small food stall on Myeongdong Street. For reasons he couldn't explain, Min-jae found himself returning there late at night when the crowds were gone. His bodyguards waited at a distance, confused why their boss, who usually ate at five-star restaurants, was sitting on a small plastic chair beside a simple street cart. Soo-young would quietly place a warm bowl of soup in front of him. "You shouldn't work too hard," she often said gently. Min-jae found himself relaxing during those quiet conversations. The powerful mafia boss who commanded hundreds of men suddenly felt like a normal person again. Sometimes they talked about small things, weather, food, the changing seasons. Sometimes they sat in silence. But every time he left, Min-jae felt something unusual in his chest. A warmth he hadn't felt since childhood. For Soo-young, every moment with Min-jae felt like walking through a dream mixed with fear. The more she observed him, the more small details reminded her of her lost son. The shape of his jaw. The way his eyes narrowed when thinking. Even the way he held chopsticks looked exactly like the little boy she once raised. One evening, while watching him eat, she noticed the faint scar above his eyebrow. Her heart suddenly raced. Her son had gotten that exact scar when he fell from a tree as a child. She remembered rushing him to a small clinic while he cried and held her hand. Now, that same scar was right in front of her. But Soo-young forced herself to remain calm. Many people could have similar scars. Many people could look alike. Still, deep in her heart, a voice kept whispering. What if it's him? A few days later, something happened that shook Soo-young to her core. Min-jae leaned forward to grab a bowl of rice cakes. As he did, the collar of his shirt shifted slightly. That was when she saw it. A silver necklace hanging around his neck. Her breathing stopped. She knew that necklace. She had bought it from a small jewelry shop 26 years ago in Seoul as a birthday gift for her son. Her hands began trembling. "Where did you get that necklace?" she asked softly. Min-jae touched the locket absent-mindedly. "I've had it since I was a child," he replied. "It's the only thing I kept from my mother." Soo-young felt tears forming in her eyes. But she still wasn't completely sure. She needed proof. That night, the street was unusually quiet. The usual crowds around Myeongdong Street had already disappeared. Only Min-jae remained sitting at the stall. Soo-young took a deep breath. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "Do you remember your mother?" Min-jae's expression instantly hardened. His eyes darkened as painful memories surfaced. "She died," he said quietly. "She disappeared during a gang war when I was 6. Soo-young could no longer hold back her tears. "No," she whispered. "I didn't die." Min-jae slowly looked up at her, confusion filling his face. For the first time since they met, the old woman was crying. With shaking hands, Soo-young walked to a small wooden box inside her stall. From inside, she removed a worn photograph. The edges were faded from years of being carried everywhere. She placed it gently on the table. Min-jae looked down at the photo. His heart skipped a beat. It showed a young woman smiling while holding a small boy. He recognized the picture immediately. It was the exact same photo inside his necklace. His mind struggled to process what was happening. Slowly, he raised his eyes to look at the woman in front of him. "Mom." Soo-young collapsed into tears. "My son. Min-jae." The world seemed to stop around them. After 26 years of searching, waiting, and suffering, mother and son had finally found each other again. Min-jae fell to his knees. The powerful mafia boss who ruled the criminal world of Seoul was now crying like a lost child. All the pain he had buried for years poured out of him. Why didn't you come back?" he asked through tears. Soo-young gently held his face. "I tried," she whispered. She explained how enemies kidnapped her during the gang war. They kept her prisoner for years to weaken Min-jae's father. Eventually she escaped. But by the time she returned to Seoul, her husband had been killed and her son had disappeared. So she searched. Every day. Every street. Every crowd. For 26 years. But fate wasn't finished testing them yet. The traitor who betrayed Min-jae had been watching his movements. Through spies, he discovered where Min-jae had been secretly visiting. Late one night, black vans stopped near the quiet street. Armed men stepped out silently. They surrounded the small food stall. Inside the stall, Min-jae suddenly sensed something wrong. Years of living in danger had sharpened his instincts. He looked outside. Shadowy figures were moving closer. His enemies had finally found him. Gunshots suddenly shattered the silence of the night. Min-jae quickly pushed his mother behind the stall for cover. "Stay down," he ordered firmly. But this battle felt different from every other fight he had faced. Before, he fought for power. For territory. For survival. Now he was fighting for the person he had just found again. His mother. Min-jae fought fiercely, using every skill he had learned over years of mafia warfare. Soon the sound of cars arrived. His loyal men rushed to the scene. The attackers were quickly defeated. The traitor responsible for the attack was captured alive. After that night, Min-jae sat quietly with his mother inside the small stall. For the first time in his life, he questioned the world he had built. Power. Money. Fear. All of it suddenly felt meaningless. He had spent years chasing control over the city of Seoul. But he had almost lost the only person who truly mattered. The next morning, Min-jae gathered his organization leaders. He made an announcement that shocked everyone. He was stepping down as mafia boss. Some tried to argue. Others were stunned. But Min-jae had already made up his mind. He wanted a different life. Months later, the small street stall on Myeongdong Street looked completely different. With Min-jae's help, it had transformed into a cozy little restaurant. The sign outside read, "Mother's Kitchen." Soo-young cooked while Min-jae served customers. Tourists and locals filled the place every evening. None of them knew the quiet man serving tea had once been the most feared mafia boss in the city. But Min-jae didn't care. One evening, as they closed the restaurant, Soo-young looked at her son with a gentle smile. "I prayed every day that I would see you again," she said. Min-jae held her hand. "And I spent my whole life searching for something, without realizing it was you." For the first time in many years, Kang Min-jae looked at the bright lights of Seoul without feeling the weight of power. Because now, he finally had a home.